What is going on, Nuggets Nation NBA fans? My name is Tom Leuthner. Welcome back in to Nuggets Today, presented by Fan Arts. We do have some things to cover, like every episode. And the first thing I want to cover is some more standings. Now, NBA.com has dropped their standings, and I like the standings because I like to see where everybody places, not only Denver as a whole, but because of the moves they made, which is something that NBA.com did. So they made their Western Conference power rankings, and the top 10 in order were the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Rockets, the Wolves, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Warriors, the Mavs, the Grizzlies, and the Spurs. Now, I do agree with the majority of it. I do personally think that the Clippers are over the Timberwolves. I think that Ant is phenomenal. I think that Randall's a good side piece when it comes to having a second role player. I think Dante's a good player for them. McDaniels is a great defender, and Rudy's obviously a fantastic paint defender. But I just think that the Clippers have something they don't, and that is a way deeper bench. Now I think that Naz Reid is pretty good. I'm not saying that the Timberwolves don't have a bench necessarily, because they do have some pieces, especially younger guys that we'll probably see get an opportunity this year. They do have Mike Conley, who's pretty good at the point guard spot, even though he is a vet. But I mean, the Clippers bench, they have a loaded backup five, and I think that they should be a little bit higher. A little bit higher than the Grizzlies are, even if it's just they swap spots. Now, their title was stating that the Thunder are easily the favorites to run away with the West this year again, which sort of blew my mind a little bit, because Denver, which is a team that took them to 7 without a healthy roster and no bench, who upgraded, got exactly what they needed, which was a competent bench, and it looks like people who are going to be healthier. I think they could not easily beat them, but I think they could go 7 again and probably win that series. A team like the Rockets were missing one thing, and that was a pure scorer in the playoffs, and that's what they got in Kevin Durant, and they kept majority of their team together. Guys like Tari East and Jabari Smith, who were massive factors for them throughout the entire season, Şengün, and they were able to get a guy like KD, who's one of the best scorers in the NBA, who I think will take a good role for them. Like I said, I think that Denver added the depth they needed. I do understand why they're putting OKC at 1. Nikola Topic is obviously coming back, and he is supposed to be a guy who is a great change of pace, bigger guard for them, which gives Shea the opportunity to actually get some breaks for the Thunder. And obviously they have Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins. They have a great team. We all know that. We know that they have a great team, but that's not to say that they're going to run away with the entire conference strictly because Denver was able to almost take them down and didn't have a competent roster at that time because of injuries and the lack of depth. So I do think that Denver is going to be pretty close when it comes to the power rankings. Not that it's going to be a runaway, but I think it's going to be pretty close. Now, in their article, they did ask a question for each team, and the question for the Denver Nuggets is, should they increase the three-point volume this upcoming season? Now, when you look back at last year, and that Christian Brown was able to shoot the ball. Aaron Gordon took probably the biggest leap in the entire NBA when it came to three-point percentage, and was able to do something that we didn't think that he was able to do at that high of a level. When they were outscored by the three ball in 55 games this past season, when they weren't outscored by the three ball, they were 22-5, which is an insane stat. But I think that the moves that they made were strictly to help that stat out. Now, KCP, obviously, very good player for Denver, was a sharpshooter, MPJ, sharpshooter, but now they're bringing in guys who can do majority of things. Like I said, I've talked to Rachel Strand about it. I've been seeing a lot of videos of Julian Strawther's work ethic and what he is doing this offseason, and he may be able to be a primary ball handler off the bench if they need him to be. And he's a shot creator, but he's a three-point shooter. Bruce Brown's a guy who's not a terrible three-point shooter, and we saw that in Denver in his first stint in Denver. Obviously, Nikola Jokic, AG, CB, Jamal, all three-point shooters. But now you're bringing in Cam. You're bringing in Val, who can shoot off the bench if you really need him to, depending on the brand of basketball you want him to play. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a knockdown shooter. Like I said, Strawther's going to get those minutes. I covered it last episode. Supposedly Peyton Watson is working on his 3 game. I do think that Denver was lacking when it came to the attempts per 3. Obviously, there were games where they just shot super inefficient from 3, but at the same time, like I said, bringing in guys like Cam, Tim Hardaway, and replacing a guy like MPJ is probably going to spread that out, because now you're not just guarding one guy at the three-point line. Like I said, teams, it seemed, were almost allowing AG and CB to shoot the ball last year from the three-point line. Not that they weren't contesting, but it wasn't such a hard closeout as it would have been for a guy like MPJ. So I do think that's interesting to see that they're going to bring these guys in and how our team's going to play that now. Because, like I said, you could run a lineup where you have Strother, Tim Hardaway, Cam Johnson, AG and Jokic in there, and now Jokic is surrounded by 4 guys who can knock down the 3-ball. So, or maybe you have a lineup of Jamal, Tim Hardaway, Cam Johnson, and Julian Strother who can shoot the 3-ball. If you want to leave a guy like CB open, then go ahead and shoot it, but I think that Denver has to take the opportunities that they're given and not pass up on them. Now, like I said, I think that Denver is amazing, and the Christmas schedule came out for the this upcoming season, and I know it's nothing great or nothing big, but Denver's not on the schedule, and it sort of bothered me because Denver is a main matchup to look for with just about any Western Conference team that is contending. If you give me a second, here's the Christmas schedule. Pistons, Knicks, which I understand because that is a rivalry that's been going on through decades now. Cavs Celtics is also another good matchup, but I mean, obviously the Celtics aren't going to be anything special this year because they're not competing for that 1 seed anymore. It's more of the Knicks and Pistons competing for that 1 seed with the Cavs now in the Eastern Conference. Lakers Mavericks, which I understand is the new rivalry because of the Anthony Davis and Luka trade. The Spurs and the Thunder, which I wouldn't mind, and then Houston and the Warriors. I think Houston and Denver would have been a better game, but I understand the history of Houston and the Warriors, but I do think that they should have given Denver a game, whether that been a Lakers game, whether that been a Spurs rematch, a Clippers game. There probably should have been a Denver game slid in there somewhere. I do think that that would be a better opportunity or a better game to watch than the Spurs versus Thunder, in my opinion. I know you want to see Shea go against Wemby, and it's the new generation of talent, but at the same time, I would have rather seen Denver in there, obviously, as a Denver fan. Now, this last topic is the community talk, and that is something that we're bringing back now. 2 episodes ago, I believe it is at this point, Paul had brought up and revived the Malcolm Brogdon conversation. Now, I agree. Brogdon is somebody I've covered for a good chunk of the offseason. With the verbal contracts that have been discussed of Golden State bringing in Gary Payton and DeAnthony Melton, it's very unlikely for them to bring in Malcolm Brogdon. Now, I know that the Knicks were in conversations with Brogdon, but they got Clarkson, so maybe those have fallen through. But I think the Nuggets could use him. Now, I will give Jalen Pickett the shot. I know I bash on Pickett a lot. I'm just not a fan of his game, the small point guard who isn't the best shooter in the world, who I understand he plays his brand of bully basketball at the as an undersized point guard, but like I said, I would rather see other guys, but I wouldn't mind a guy like Brogdon coming in, even if he doesn't play as much, just to help mentor a guy like Jalen Pickett. I think that Bruce Brown will be a good mentor for Pickett, but I don't think that it really matches the point guard. I think Bruce is more of a 2-3, in my opinion, who can play the one if you need him to. So I wouldn't mind a guy like Brogdon. I also think that if Denver's in a position where they need to make up that backup ball handling or the help ball handling for Jamal Murray, that Brogdon would be the perfect guy to come do that, even if it's only for 5, 6, 7 minutes a game. Anyway, that is all I got for you guys today, Nuggets Nation. Let me know if you guys want me to cover anything down below in the comments. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I will see you guys tomorrow.